Tired of dealing with annoying flies, fruit flies, and gnats in your home? The Zevo Flying Insect Trap is your ultimate solution. Don't wait. Check out the link in the video description now to get your Zevo Flying Insect Trap on Amazon and enjoy a bug-free home today.
Big Brother's Narinder Kaur has admitted she and her husband are too scared to let their children leave the house amid the UK's race riots. The broadcaster, 52, whose parents emigrated from India, said she had been left distressed and disheartened at the sight of far-right thugs targeting ethnic communities, decades after she was spat at for the color of her skin. Community centers, charities, and local businesses were targeted in shameful scenes this weekend that have blighted towns and cities across the country in the wake of last week's Southport stabbing attack. Narinder wrote in the Mirror, "I'm scared to let the kids out of the house at all. My husband and I are wary of traveling around London, a city we've usually felt safe in, because we're worried about our safety amidst these race riots. The threat is real and personal." She went on to explain how she was concerned for her home city of Leicester and family and friends who continue to live there in fear, blaming those who add fuel to the fire, like politicians Sala Braverman and Kemi Badenoch. Writing, "Growing up in the 80s, I faced my own battles with racism. The National Front would hand out leaflets outside my school, spreading their vile propaganda. I was spat at and chucked around by other children, simply for being different." Revealing that the situation became so dire a separate entrance had to be created for her to enter and leave school, in a bid to keep her safe. Narinder continued, "It is deeply unsettling to realize that now, in 2024, we are facing a resurgence of that same vile bigotry. It is heartbreaking to see the fear in the eyes of the new generation, children and young adults who should be growing up in a society free of such hatred. The attacks in Leicester are not isolated incidents, but part of a disturbing trend of rising racism and xenophobia across the UK. It comes as shops, banks, and GP surgeries across the country shut early on Monday amid fears of further rioting in the wake of the Southport stabbings. Reports spread on social media suggesting a riot was set to hit the West Yorkshire town of Huddersfield at 1 p.m., while protesters gathered in Birmingham after rumours of a gathering spread online. Thugs clashed with police in Plymouth as two groups of protesters were separated by riot officers, with a commanding officer describing the policing efforts needed as off the scale, with 150 officers deployed in the city centre. Frightened by the despairing scenes of violence and looting in other UK cities in recent days, many businesses have chosen to pull down the shutters ahead of time while police have been mobilised in the town centre. Elsewhere, staff and students at Oxford University were warned to avoid the area around the Carfax Tower in the city centre ahead of a feared protest. A GP surgery in Birmingham also closed as hundreds of Muslims turned out to counter a rumoured far-right gathering, while in Plymouth, arrests were made as anti-immigration protesters clashed with anti-fascists. In Southport, meanwhile, locals have turned out peacefully with balloons, teddies, and flowers to remember the victims of the attack at a Taylor Swift-themed dance class last Monday. It comes as some of the first rioting suspects were hauled before court after being arrested in connection with the outrageous scenes across the country in recent days, some of whom wept in the dock as charges were read out. Around 80% of shops and businesses in Huddersfield town centre have shut their doors or pulled down their shutters in the anticipation of possible looting. Barclays and NatWest banks, as well as McDonald's, have closed until tomorrow morning. Hairdressers, shoe shops, and clothing stores are also closed for staff safety. West Yorkshire Police has deployed a dozen or so officers in St George's Square, outside the railway station and in which stands the statue of former Prime Minister Harold Wilson. It said in a statement reported by Yorkshire Live, "We are of course aware of recent disorder across the country and continue to monitor relevant intelligence relating to the possibility of further incidents. Reports suggest some of the businesses that closed were run by Asian people, and Asian men traveled from other towns to be there to protect them. One man traveled from Leeds and told Sky News, 'We don't want this. This is our country just as much.